We're going to show you how to take apart a rear caliper on a 92 Mazda Miata. He's going to take off the wheel for us. We got it racked up here. You could do it with floor jacks if you wanted to, and safety stands. Just the rack's easier. So here's the caliper, and we're going to take off this little rubber boot down here. You got to take this off to get to the bolt. Comes off just like that. So if you go to the back of your caliper, there's this bolt right here. That's your cap for your manual adjusting screw for your caliper piston. So when you take that bolt off, you'll see in there just barely there's a little Allen key or hex key bolt in there, and you have to unscrew it to the left to retract the piston back into the caliper. So right now you can see the Allen key is in there, and this is a very important step because if you do not back that off, you won't be able to compress your piston. Now we go back to that bottom bolt. Took that cover off. I'm taking this one off here. So after we take this bottom bolt off, there's actually not a second bolt, it's just a sliding pin. So if you pivot up the caliper like this, it should slide right off. So you want to make sure you hang up the caliper, that way you don't pinch the lines. Use a piece of baling wire or bungee cord. So this is what that little Allen key ratcheting bolt looks like. It's the front part, this side, that's the part that turns in your piston. Pretty cool. So you want to make sure that goes back in. It's very important. So now that the caliper's out of the way, we can just slide the pads right off. Put our new pads on. These are actually already new pads, so we're going to leave these on. But alright, so when you're putting your caliper back on, you want to take off your baling wire or whatever you're holding it up with, and make sure you're holding on to it so it doesn't drop, because you don't want to pinch up any of the hoses or let it just smack down, because you could actually rip the hoses.
Be careful with them.
And you want to be careful with it because they kind of get tangled up back there. Get it up on that top sliding pin, bring it down so it lines up with that bottom bolt. And you always want to make sure you grease that top sliding pin and that bolt before you put it back in. These ones already has grease because I just recently did the brakes on this. You always want to start the bolts by hand because strip bolt is not your friend. So when you're tightening up this bottom bolt, it's actually 30 foot-pounds is the torque spec. You always want to use a torque wrench. If you don't have one, just don't get it over tightened. 30 is not very much. So after you get that one tightened down the spec, you want to take your Allen key and stick it back into that access hole. And you want to tighten it up with the little Allen key. If you get it all the way tight, you won't be able to move the rotor. That's not good, so you want to back it off a little bit. You want it to have a little bit of a drag, but not too much. Now we're back behind the caliper. You want to make sure you put that cap bolt back. Always started by hand. That little cap bolt, you don't have to get really tight. It has a little washer on it. Just want it so it doesn't fall off. It's just the dust cap. You want to make sure you put on this little rubber boot back on that bottom bolt. So now after we got it all set in there, we're going to actually bleed this wheel out. Before you start to bleed the caliper, you want to make sure you unscrew the cap on your master cylinder and then just set it right back on top. So otherwise you're going to suck in air if you leave it off, or if you leave it on, then it's going to create a vacuum. So we got this, it's a bleeder cup. You could use, a water bottle with just a regular flex hose on it or something if you need that. And then you want to use a 12-point wrench on there. You want to crack the bleeder screw, and you're going to have somebody inside the car, and you're going to yell down.
Down!
And the person in the car is going to push the pedal down. When it gets down to the floor, they'll say down. Down! Then you want to tighten up the bleeder screw back up, and you want to say up.
Up!
And then when the guy in the car, he's going to bring up the pedal. And he'll say up. Up! And that's how you bleed the wheel. And when you're putting your wheels back on, you want to make sure you hand tighten the lugs just to start them. You want to always use a torque stick with your impact gun, or if you have a torque wrench, you can use that.